doing some research on trout eyesight and how they perceive their food, looking through both their cones and their rods of their eyes, and also looking at some of their favorite food patterns. And I came up with this combination of multiple already proven patterns, which obviously the D&D, the Sex Dungeon, and some other aspects of blending materials. And blending materials takes a little bit more time, but I feel like to get a good sculpin pattern, blending materials is definitely the way to go. So I'm creating this pattern. It took me about an hour to decide on which materials to try out, and I have no idea how it's going to turn out. We'll see what this thing looks like here when I'm done with it. Just using a little mustache comb to blend this material together and pull out any fibers that aren't holding within the thread. So I've learned that when I fish with dumbbell eyes, I'm fishing the fly a lot slower. Definitely works good for deeper water. And I wanted something that I was going to be able to sink into some of those deeper pools and holes where the bigger trout are. So this fly, I'm trying to design to definitely target specifically the bigger trout where I fish. Otherwise, I probably would just put a deer hair head on this and fish it pretty much all over the river. I think a deer hair head would work just as good. I figured I'll have to fish this fly a lot slower if I use a material that's going to absorb a lot of water and sink down to the deeper depths that I'm trying to target. It's looking pretty good. I got the mottled pattern that I was going for, the two-tone color with the craft fur down the back, but I put a feather on the underside to give it some underlift like this. It's cupping up, and I'm hoping it's going to give an upward flutter of the backside of this tail when it goes through some turbulence. So also added some silly legs only on the front end, not on the back end, because I'm trying to keep the tail of this fly extremely light. I want all the weight forward. I want to give it not only a side-to-side swimming motion, but I want an up and down undulation with these heavy dumbbell eyes and this craft head fur. And I'm just trying to come up with something that's going to get to the depth I want, where I think that these bigger trout are holding. After a float with a friend and seeing some of these bigger trout and where they were holding in relation to some structure and deeper pools, I knew I needed to get something that's going to get deeper. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. I'm going to use a pair of Pat Cohen's Superfly curved scissors to shape this head, because I do want a bullet style shaped head. I want to be able to see the eyes. I'm going to go flat on the underside of the helmet style fly that I'm going to trim here, and here we go. So I just clean it up around the eye first, getting the round shape that I'm looking for coming right off the front. So I'll cut the whole thing round, and then I'll go back and cut the underbelly. And what I'm doing is I'm bracing the scissors right on the edge of the eye. So I'm getting an even cut all the way around. All right, so here it is. There's a lot going on in this fly. It looks like a basic streamer pattern. It looks very similar to the D&D. It's got a little bit of the Sex Dungeon in here. I did a lot of palmering with different feathers to get the underbody. I wanted to really build a thick body without adding a lot of weight in the back end. So we have, I'm gonna just go through this fly, what all we have in here. So started off with a black and gold mottled Flashabou for the tail. So we have some flash in the back. A badger style hackle for the underbody instead of using any type of chenille or anything like that. So I palmered that on first, then went through and I palmered on some mottled hen saddle, which is this color here. So we got that hen saddle is palmered on top of the badger colored hen saddle feather. Here, I'll show you that. So this is what the underbody is. So I palmered one of these feathers all the way through the body. Then I went back through it with the mottled hen saddle, which is got that yellowish gold and black tint to it. So I'm sticking with that black and gold type of theme. And then after I put that on, then I went back and I added in some of this Hackle Flash UV Mylar in Tri-Blend gold is what it's just called, gold. UV Mylar and Tri-Lobal gold from Cascade Crest Tools. So I'm using that just like in the D&D. This is very similar. It's the same thing as Polar Chenille. So it's just it's a different brand. And I went with this color because I had that tan, gold, yellow color, and this is going to give my body some flash. So that's 3 different feathers and materials I palmered down. I used this as a rib. So instead of using a gold wire or adding extra weight to the back end, I used this as my rib. Brown and some two-tone color craft fur, and that's what's on my back. And actually, before I put that in, I also palmered in a regular wood duck feather. Added in my yellow eyes. From there, I added in a glass rattle. So this thing's got a rattle inside of it. It's got flash. It's got the two-tone mottled color. Then I worked my way up to the head, and instead of putting in feathers for fins that people traditionally will do on a sculpin pattern, I put in some three sets of rubber legs on each side to kind of give it that fin look. When a fish is swimming in the water, and it's especially swimming away from a predator, it's going to tuck its fins in tight to its body. It's going to get that bullet shape as it tries to flee extremely fast. So having something stick out away from the body, I didn't feel was necessary at all. I wanted everything streamlined, everything tight, and then I wanted this head to not only move a lot of water, I want it to absorb water and soak in to get heavier so that this fly has a lot of weight, so I can get it to sink down with my sink tip really fast, not like deer hair. And I wanted it to be able to dive and get down a little bit so I can fish those deeper pools and try to pull them bigger trout up. We'll come up with a name for it, all these different color combinations, but listen to that rattle. Now this thing's it's gonna be a fish getter.